Jong-yeol, a sharp by-the-book lawyer, and Na-ra, a passionate and creative film producer, are an unlikely couple who once defied all odds and their family's disapproval to get married. Their romance was intense, fast, and rebellious, built on passion rather than practicality. But just 2 years into their marriage, that once fiery love has burned out. Constant arguments, clashing personalities, and bruised egos have turned their home into a battlefield. They wanted to love-hate relationship now. Emotionally drained and frustrated, they agreed to file for divorce. During his time of unemployment, while Na-ra continued to earn, she constantly reminded him of his jobless state, making him feel worthless. Her words felt like torment. Instead of offering understanding as a partner, she chose criticism over compassion. When the court heard both sides of their story, the judge gave them 30 days to reconsider their decision before finalizing the divorce. Although they disagreed with the ruling, they had no choice but to comply. On their way back, another argument broke out between them, leading to a car accident that left both of them with memory loss. It was as if time had rewound, placing them 30 days before the final stroke of their divorce. The memories were gone, but something deeper lingered, a tension, a pull, a faint echo of a connection they couldn't explain. When their parents told them they were married, he looked stunned, and then surprisingly smiled, a blush coloring his cheeks. But her face twisted in disbelief. "What kind of nightmare ends with me marrying someone like him?" she snapped, her voice laced with irritation and confusion. The doctor advised that in order to regain their memories, they needed to stay together. This suggestion didn't sit well with either set of parents, who were strongly in favor of the divorce and eager to see it finalized. However, for the sake of their children's recovery, they reluctantly agreed. They convinced the couple to live together for 30 days, promising that after that period, the divorce would proceed as planned. To ease their concerns, they also arranged for the girl's sister to stay with them and keep an eye on things. Yeom Ji-yoon, the younger sister, seized the chance to boss around her amnesiac older sister, Young So-min, making her handle all the household chores. Since she was technically their guardian during this strange arrangement, the couple went along with it, grudgingly. Jung So-min and Kang Han-yeol slept in separate rooms as Ji-yoon was tasked with one critical mission: to ensure they didn't fall in love again, or worse, end up in the same bed. Somewhere deep in Kang Han-yeol's heart, he didn't truly want the divorce. He longed to remember the good times, the moments that once brought them together, in hopes that they could find their way back to each other. Curious and desperate to reconnect with his past, he turned to a friend and asked how he and Young So-min had first met. What had they been like? How had their love story begun? He said the first time Young So-min and Kang Han-yeol met was at a football stadium. She had just gone through a breakup and happened to appear on the big screen in the crowd. That's when he saw her, and in that moment, he fell for her. It was love at first sight. Their second encounter felt like something out of a movie. She had missed her bus, and rain was pouring down relentlessly. Just as she stood there, soaked and frustrated, he appeared, holding an umbrella. Their eyes met beneath the gray sky, and in that instant, something unspoken passed between them. Sparks flew. It was more than coincidence. It felt like fate nudging them closer. Young So-min and Kang Han-yeol's parents took them to a hypnotherapist in hopes of helping them recover their lost memories. During the session, both recalled the same moment from their past, a chaotic yet oddly tender memory. One night, she had come home drunk and insisted on cooking for him, wanting to do something sweet. But he had his bar exam the next morning and had already gone to bed. When he woke up, the smell of smoke filled the air. Rushing to the kitchen, he found the stove on fire and her fast asleep nearby. He had been furious at the time. As they came, Out of the hypnosis, they turned to each other and quietly apologized for the mess they'd made, not just that night, but in many small ways. In that moment, something shifted. Love, slowly and silently, was finding its way back between them. After returning home, Jung So-min and Kang Han-nul settled into their usual routines, each doing their own thing. At one point, she glanced over at him, and for a brief moment, found him annoyingly cute. The realization made her blush, and she quickly turned away. Without a word, she headed to bed, leaving him sitting there, blushing too, and utterly confused by the shift in the air between them. The next morning, Kang Han-nul headed to the bathroom to brush his teeth, only to run into Jung So-min, who had the same idea. He was naked, but oddly, she didn't seem to mind. They casually handed each other toothpaste like it was routine. Then, all at once, the realization of the situation hit them. Her face flushed, and she quickly bolted back to her room. He scrambled to grab some clothes, only to find his sister-in-law standing there, holding his pajama bottoms. Mortified, he snatched them from her and fled. Later, as he sat in the living room, a strange thought crept into his mind, an image of So-min in her nightclothes, eating strawberries. The vision stirred something in him, and his expression betrayed it. She noticed, and found it awkward. When she confronted him, he fumbled for an excuse, trying to play it off. But then, almost as an afterthought, he said, "I think I remembered something." They went to see the doctor, and Han-nul explained the memory. The doctor laughed heartily and said, "So your physical instincts are resurfacing. Why not try sleeping together?" Both were left stunned and speechless. "You are married, after all," the doctor added with a shrug. "No need to be shy." That night, Kang Han-nul couldn't sleep. Restless on the couch, he grabbed his phone and messaged her, "Would you want to go to a baseball game with me?" A moment later, she replied, "Sure." The next morning, So-min made up an excuse and left the house early. Han-nul, fully dressed and oddly enthusiastic, stepped outside to throw out the garbage. His sister-in-law watched him, suspicious and amused. Something was definitely going on. Jung So-min and Kang Han-nul met outside the house, choosing a quiet park as their spot to reconnect. They shared some food and opened up about their feelings, the confusion, the flickers of emotion, and everything in between. As the day turned to evening, they found themselves at a cozy restaurant, sharing a meal filled with laughter, candid photos, and lingering smiles. There was a warmth between them, soft, unspoken, undeniable. Love was quietly making its way back into the picture. As they left the restaurant, rain began to fall. Jung So-min paused for a moment, the scene stirring a memory. Their very first meeting on a rainy day. Overcome by emotion, she leaned in and kissed him. Later, they headed to Kang Han-nul's bar and shared a few drinks. One glass turned into many, and with their guards down and feelings overflowing, they gave in to the moment and grew intimate right then and there. Outside, their friends stood like sentries at the door, grumbling and rolling their eyes at the situation. "Seriously? In there?" one muttered while another sighed. "Unbelievable, but also kind of adorable." Back at home, Aom Ji-yoon was on the phone with their mom, reporting that Jung So-min and Kang Han-nul hadn't come home since the night before. Their mom, understandably, was growing curious and a little concerned. Just then, Jung So-min walked in with her friends, casually mentioning she'd spent the night out with them. A few minutes later, Kang Han-nul showed up as well, flanked by his own friends, acting as if he'd simply been at the bar all night. Ji-yoon couldn't help but feel suspicious. Something didn't quite add up, but she had no proof. Still, she watched closely as the two sat together, laughing, chatting, looking far too comfortable. She even made their mom listen in, whispering, "This isn't normal." While the sister-in-law was out, Jung So-min and Kang Han-nul found a quiet moment alone and couldn't resist getting intimate again. Just as they were caught up in the moment, the front door opened. Yeom Ji-yoon walked in, frozen shock at what she saw, and immediately called their mom, half yelling into the phone, "Mom, she's attacking him. She's on top of him." The whole situation was so outrageous, it was hilarious. The scene was pure chaos and comedy. While trying to stop his sister-in-law, Kang Ha-neul slipped on a baseball and hit his head. He collapsed, and both Yeom Ji-yoon and So-min rushed to his side, frantically trying to wake him up. For a few tense moments, he lost his vision. Disoriented, he began talking to Ji-yoon, but facing the wrong direction entirely, as if she were somewhere else. His confused state worried them even more. Without wasting time, they took him to the hospital, anxious and unsure about what had just happened. When they returned home, Young So-min's mother confronted Kang Ha-neul. She said she had planned to wait until the divorce was finalized, but now that things had gone too far, given their intimacy, she had decided to take her daughter away for good. Kang Ha-neul stood silently, listening respectfully. He didn't argue or defend himself, even as her accusations grew harsher. He simply accepted her words. Soon after, So-min and her mother left the house. So-min, however, wasn't at peace. She already missed him. Her mother insisted she was doing what was best, not wanting to see her daughter hurt again. But So-min, torn and heartbroken, said quietly, "I don't remember the past. And honestly, I hope I never do, because right now, I'm happy, and I want to be with him." Meanwhile, Kang Ha-neul was walking home alone, weighed down by sadness. But as he approached, he spotted Young So-min standing outside, waiting for him. They spoke softly, emotions bubbling beneath the surface. She realized then his memory had returned. Her smile faded as she whispered, "I still don't remember. And maybe I don't want to, but I'm glad you do. I hope you find happiness." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, torn between the past he remembered and the present she was still lost in. The next day, Kang Ha-neul and Young So-min officially filed for divorce as their 30-day period came to an end. She quietly informed him that she was leaving for London. When he returned home, the silence was deafening. Just memories echoing in empty rooms. At Jung So-min's house, she packed for her trip in complete silence, not saying a word. Her stillness spoke volumes, prompting her mother to quietly observe that something felt off. Meanwhile, Kang Ha-neul was also packing, preparing to move out of the house, one that had been gifted by So-min's mother. She came by briefly, asking him to vacate the place as soon as possible. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "My daughter leaves this evening, if you want to stop her." But he said nothing. That evening, his friends gathered to console him over the breakup. They tried to remind him of the good times, the love, the laughter, but his mind kept drifting to the painful memories. Still, something inside him stirred. He made a decision. Rushing to the airport, he found her just before departure. Out of breath and emotional, he confessed his love. But So-min remained silent, her face unreadable. She turned away and walked off, leaving him crushed and heartbroken. As he began to walk out, heavy with regret, her voice called from behind. He turned, and she kissed him. Love, after all, has no boundaries. True love always finds its way back.